interviewing for a new job, so might be making a switch and going to the banking side of things. So
I've always said you're a banker.
a what? A wanker?
Hey, I said banker. You said the other one.
You let me know because I need a new bank, man. Because the bank I'm with now is giving me too much headache with the stuff that I had to do this week with regard to buying books. It was just pain in the butt. Yeah.
Well, it's with Citizens Bank, so I don't know if you have any Citizens Banks down there, but I think they're on the East Coast up through Michigan and the Northeast. So I don't know. We'll see. They're putting an offer together for me. So I'll know in a week or two, and hopefully the Saturday mornings that I'll still have available.
Yep.
So.
And then I need Johnny. Johnny to go online or find that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Metalhead that came out this week or is coming out this week, and buy that because you can't buy that here. And then a bunch of people have been staking out the targets looking for that stuff.
What is it? Is it like a figure?
Yeah. So there's like a turtle that's like a robot.
All right. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Metalhead figure, yeah?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My local shop isn't open yet, but I'll ask around and see what I can find out.
Yeah, you may not be able to get it in the shop because they may not know about it, and that's fine. But you may have to actually go online and get it.
Okay.
So, because the thing is, I can't just go online. Like I've seen certain websites, but I can't just go online and say, hey, if you can send it to me. Nope, they will only ship to European addresses.
All right. Okay.
Really?
So all right. Okay, that's fine. Drop me a line with some of the web pages and stuff, and I'll see what I can sort out for you.
Roger.
All right. So just to recap, we're doing Spider-Woman, we're doing Empyre, and we're doing the Wolverine Iron Man crossover there.
Yep.
All right. We already know what Johnny thinks of that. All right. Anybody got any Marvel news or anything that they want to spit out there before?
Did I hear Strike Force has been cancelled?
Right. There's a lot of stuff that has been kind of left to the wayside, and I'll touch on that when we talk about Empyre, because I don't know if you saw the back of the book had the checklist. That checklist is decimated if you look at it.
Good. 51 issues on that book.
It's not 51. It's half of them are not even coming out. So but I have the list, so I'll go through what they canceled. But it looks like we're actually going to get a tight event book with not a lot of tie-ins. So
good, because nobody really asked for this book.
Not the truth.
I mean, like you said, if we find a portal to sprinkle it in, otherwise we'll do this at the end. There's several stories that came out, and we don't have to do them all. The Hawkeye Disney series, it has the landed 2 directors.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Let's see.
You'll be pleased to know that my stepdaughter got Disney Plus. So,
nice.
So that if that's Marvel news, that counts. I've been watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I love that cartoon.
Yeah, what you didn't watch Hamilton yet?
No.
No.
I will tell you the Prince George character is pretty interesting.
I'm all about the 70s cartoons. That's it.
Now I'll leave the bar news about the whole criticizing China. Let's see. Oh, Marvel's going to launch a original graphic novel for young readers. And then...
Way to jump on the bandwagon after it's left the station, Marvel. Well done.
Oh, and then there's the Marvel's Avengers War Table. Um, it's like a little video that premieres what's going to happen with that video game. It's supposed to go on
Oh,
the
yeah.
8th.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then when we do open, I did want to freaking give a little shout out to the John Lewis who passed away. This couple days, was it yesterday or the other day?
Yesterday.
Yeah, he passed away. He was 80 years old, and big reason why is because he has actually had some comic books based on his life.
Really?
Yeah, it's called
Oh,
March. There's a trilogy called March, and that was actually based on another comic book about Martin Luther King's life. So
well, I definitely want to hear you talk about that. That's interesting to me. All right, so I'm gonna give it a countdown, and then we'll start, and then we'll go from there. All right.
all right,
So 3, 2. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of No Prize Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Bud Young, and with me, as always, from across the pond is Johnny the Machine Hughes. How are you, Johnny?
Booyah! Go Fins! Go Fins! Woohoo! Yeah!
We're piping in the crowd noise for Johnny. All right, Lucas, how are you today?
I'm doing great, guys. I want to give a shout out and a special condolences to the family of Representative John Lewis this week. Yesterday, he just passed away at the age of 80 years old. He was one of the last great um, African American human rights activists from the 60s. And the reason why I definitely wanted to bring him up during this is because he has had several comic books based on his experiences as a human rights activist. Um, Three of the best ones were the trilogy of March. Those are really good. I suggest if you really want to give something to your kids to read about it, that it was really drawn well. It was really written well, and even that the inspiration for March was actually based off of the Martin Luther King book, Martin Luther King, The March of Montgomery. That was a really great one. I don't understand how that's not worth more. But there are some really good copies out there if you're willing to pick those up. But yeah, once again, condolences to the family of Mr. Lewis.
And who published those books? Do you know?
I believe they were indie. I'm not sure. I would have to look that up, but I will find out and I'll have that answer to you by the end of it.
All right. All right. And our condolences to the family of John Lewis. All right. Let's get into this week's books. We actually kind of looked like a normal week. We had like 15 books come out. How many of those were digital? Do we know?
No
We don't.
clue. No clue. There's only so many that I knew that people actually wanted to buy, and that was maybe the Empire until they actually read it, and then
Oh, let's not spoil this before we get to the.
the Spider Woman one. That's one that's a hot book. So if you can if you can get your hands on that one, once again we'll get to that one once we get into this.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump right into it. Let's do Spider Woman number 2, Johnny. That's your baby.
That's my call.
Yeah, that's you.
Oh, man. All right, okay, so Spider-Woman number 2. So this is written by, let me get my details, Carla Pacheco, even, sorry. Art by Pierre Perez. Colors by Frank Diamata, and letters by VC Travis Lanham. What is it about characters, do you think? You know, that Marvel decide to follow one particular thing and make it their be-all and end-all. So with Carol Danvers, it's always about, you know, schizophrenia, her id. You know, she's half this, half that. The amount of Miss Marvel or Carol Danvers books that have started, series that have started, and it's always kind of she's being taken over by someone or she's got something going on. It's like once you realise that Rogue took her powers, that's the hook all the time. Well, with Jessica, it's exactly the same. With Jessica Drew, it's like, I tell you what, she used to be She used to be experimented on in the past, so let's do that again. It's like, really? What? Why? So this book is kind of, it's like, I don't understand why it's so hard. I know Jessica's a cool character and all, and you guys know how much I love her stuff in the 70s, but this book is just, it's like lacking logic. So basically, what's happened is, in the midst of saving the kid from last issue, Jess has been stabbed with a virus that is going to kill her. So very much like Arkham City, they decide to use her to get the cure that's going to save her and the kid in question. Great. But then it goes even further. She trusts the guy who stabbed her with the virus to go and get something she has to steal. It's like, are you even thinking this through? Or is this just like, hey, you know what? I played this really cool Batman game the other night called Arkham City, where the guy gets the virus and he has to spend like 3 hours of his life going around trying to get all the various bits and going on. Like, dude, I've seen this already. I am so disappointed with this book. It's unbelievable. When it said Spider-Woman, I wanted to see Jerry. I wanted to see Roger. They spent so much time and took so much heat making sure that, as pregnant superhero, she's got a kid. You never see them. You never see them. They're on 2 panels, maybe, of the last issue, but other than that, you see nothing. These are supposed to be the key parts of this story. I think we've kind of missed a trick on this. I would like to clobber it, but I love Jessica Drew, so I'm gonna stretch it with strong reservations. It's like stretching it, Mr. Stretch, Mr. Fantastic, Stretcho, when he hasn't got his powers and he's using his fake stretch suit. That's this.
Oh, Jesus. Lucas, what did you think of this book?
I'm absolutely going to clobber the hell out of this book, and it's and it's only because the last books regarding Spider-Woman that we had read were so good, were so realistic, were so down to earth that this is drivel, right? In the last books that we had, it was her struggle just to be a mom,
Yeah.
just to take care of the family, just to make sure that there was food on the table, make sure that the lights were on and all that other stuff. She barely had a suit that she could run around with without it tearing up, right? So she had to rely on some bad guys to give her the suit. And where do we get this? We get this drivel that makes no sense. We have a guy who's doing research that needs to do research to save his daughter, and in order to do it, instead of asking the good guy who hey, I kind of got my daughter. She's kind of sick. She's going to die. Would you mind helping her out? And then if she said no, I could. She said no for some reason. I could absolutely understand this route. But he didn't even ask her for it. They were literally sitting in a car together. they even called it out in the panels. Hey, I knew I should have did this, but instead, boom. And then another thing is, okay, even if she said no, then they say, well, if you don't do it, guess what? Your kid is going to die as well. How is that not an incentive or a motivation for this person to do the right thing? Why do we? This is this whole drivel of good guys fighting good guys, or good guys fighting other guys for no reason, and it freaking drives me up the wall. I can't take it anymore. There's no reason for it. It even calls it out in the story that there was no reason for this whole story in the first place.
Oh man,
Uh,
Lucas,
Yes.
I don't think you've told us exactly how you feel, mate. You really need to sort of get those emotions out there.
But it drives me nuts because it was so good. The last volume, the last stories that she was so good, absolutely masterpieces.
You guys know how much I love the last series of Spider-Woman by Dennis
yes.
Crawford. You know, I was when I started doing MPP, I was furious that had got cancelled and Mockingbird had been cancelled. Those were 2 great female strong-led superhero books that Marvel somehow dropped the ball on the goal line, going in for the winning score in the Super Bowl. You know, this is like the Atlanta Falcon of Super Bowls, if you want to say that. And we
This is
come back
this.
with, and we come back with this. And I agree. I mean, I love Jessica, so I'm always gonna root for it, and I'm always gonna root for the book to be good. But Lucas, man, you've if we weren't social distancing, I would be giving you high fives all the way, dude.
This
Yeah,
is this is the football player that's getting ready to cross the touchdown line, and instead of just crossing with the ball, he just drops the ball right before he crosses over the line.
hashtag
0 points.
hashtag Ernest Biner for all you Cleveland Brown fans. Yes, I am that old. Yes, I remember that game.
So, I agree with everything that you guys say about this book because it was pretty difficult to read. I'm going to call out a couple of little technical things that I hate. And this is actually kind of like a new tactic that I've seen some artists using. Is there's this one page, some fight scene in the middle of the book where Spider-Woman's fighting these Hydra agents, and the whole page you can actually, if you cut it up, you can put it all horizontally, because in the page is cut in half, but the top right panel, it goes together with the middle left panel, and the middle right panel goes together with the bottom left panel.
So you mean, so from there you can go to there?
Yeah, so you could cut it up and make a one big long strip of a page, but what it does is it makes me wonder, because it looks like 3 full panels in the middle of the page, and then the rest of the art is cut off, and it's making me wonder where the rest of it is, until I realize that, oh yeah, it looks like if you kind of put that half of a panel with the other half.
You're absolutely right.
I don't like that because it just it takes me out of the action.
You're absolutely right. I remember looking at this book because I reviewed it for Comic Crusaders, and there's a couple of panels where it looks as if the main panel's there, boom,
yes,
and then there should be something behind it, and you're like, well, where's the continuing panel? I never even thought to look up the damn thing.
So to explain to the readers, we get our books digitally, and we sometimes when we get the double page spreads, they're on top of each other, so we kind of have to go back and forth and kind of put together the page for ourselves. And then, but I kept on going back up to the previous page thinking that there was a double page spread somewhere. And there wasn't. It's a single page, but it reads horizontally, but it's a vertical page. Anyway, the other thing that I'm going to call out is just a story-wise thing, is this Hydra agent, this old lady that Spider-Woman ends up fighting. The MacGuffin on this thing is that she's looking for this last spider in existence, the Latrodectus Eternum, and this Hydra agent has it in a necklace around her neck, like a living spider, like just sitting in a little glass orb around her neck. As this is, I know this is what you were looking for. It's conveniently around my neck how does that spider breathing? I don't know how it's alive. Well, I don't know why it's there. Well, other than to push the plot.
You say that, but I remember Spider-Man Annual #1, and Spider-Man says that he can hold his breath for God knows how long because he was in the airtight box with the Sandman. He managed to get out of it, so using his spider holding his breath powers. So I don't know.
I guess I thought it was super convenient the first time I read it, and I was just like, what, happens to be exactly what you're looking for around her neck, and it's alive. Anyway, yeah, this book is kind of confusing, and it's why is there? Lucas already said it. There's no reason for it to be written, and they tell you that in the book. So.
But I can't believe I'm defending this book, but let's just bear in mind, before the professor goes clobber crazy, just bear in mind, it is only the second issue.
Well, we do get a cover blurb for next issue where she's fighting a dinosaur, but,
Yeah, so we can wait for the full clobbers next time, right?
We have high hopes for next issue with when she's fighting a Triceratops with the glowing purple eyes.
I have no hope for that. My hope is destroyed.
You know.
So
Alrighty.
so so in the meantime, there was let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 5 covers. The Jung regular A was Jung Jun Yoon. That was a pretty good one. That was the one. It has the cover. It has the character that you were just talking about, the Octavius, whatever her name is. I'm not sure. She's a new character. I have no clue. Then there's a Marvel Zombies cover, pretty gruesome. That one's by Ben Oliver.
That looks
Uh,
good.
yeah, there's a Mike Hawthorne villain cover with Jessica and Juggernaut on there for some reason.
Who
So that,
never appears in the book. It's
yeah,
like, whoa.
like okay. Then there's a Marvel Wednesday cover. I have no idea what it looks like, so I need to track that down, see what it looks like. And
Maybe
then
it's got Wednesday from the Addams Family on.
could be, or maybe it's Jessica Drew dressed up as Wednesday.
Yeah.
Never know. No. And then, so the creme de la creme for the week was the Jenny Frison cover. It was a 1 to 50. That one's already going for 150 to $200.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, so I mean, you're buying it for the cover. That's it. So
Yeah.
you're not
Well,
really
yeah, I
buying
mean,
it for the story.
So,
yeah,
so
the
what are
thing,
you saying is you buy the book, you cut the cover off, you put the cover in the frame, and then you shred the comic? Is that what we're doing?
I guess. I don't know. Maybe if you cut up the cover and you can put it all horizontally and it'll make a different story. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So let's move on. We'll go to the I Wolverine 2020. Lucas, this is your pick of the week.
yes.
Tell
And I
me
know
why.
it's because after reading all these other blood, high pressure raising books, I needed something that kind of calmed me down and was like, "Aw," right? This one was about I re- I Wolverine I Wolverine
It wasn't
2020.
it wasn't the awe that I was saying. I was like, ah.
Uh, uh, this one was written by Larry Hama, art by Roland Boschi, colorist Andres Mosa, letterer Joe Sabino, published. Um, so I don't know if I got that right. My notes might have been jacked up. So, but this one had Albert, who is a robotic Wolverine, and LCD. Albert D was built in conjunction with LCD I mean, way back in the day, like 1991, um, as like a tandem duo that was going to go out there, find Wolverine, and destroy him. They were built by this this engineer called Donald Pierce, big Tony Stark, but evil. He just wanted to destroy him. So what was going to happen was Wolverine was going to set him out, bait Wolverine to come out by Robin Banks, and then LCD was going to come out, where you can grab him, and then her whole body was explosive, so she would explode. And then there was this whole deal where they didn't want to do it because they became artificially intelligent, and then they didn't want to do it. Blah 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 blah. But they both LCD and Albert they got separated. Now Albert D was looking for LCD. He went back to Donna Pierce. He said, "Well, I had her, but I sold all her parts off to the Yakuza." So this whole comic book is basically Albert freaking looking for LCD's parts, and it's kind of crazy as all this stupid stuff that they had her doing. Like they had her as a robotic waitress. They had her doing as like her own little Quicken Loans or freaking TurboTax freaking thing going on. It was all types of crazy, and then just the situation that Albert, which again, the robotic Wolverine, had to get into to get LCD out. It was pretty crazy, but it was pretty great to see. I didn't even know LCD was a thing, so that was a shocker for me. So just to see that type of thing going on is pretty interesting, and I want to see more of it. I know you guys probably hate it, but this was the book that I needed this week. What did you guys think?
So the one thing that I kept when I was reading this book, I was like, what on earth does this have to do with the rest of this Iron Man crossover?
Yes.
I
Yes.
have this. I
Yes.
mean, they don't even
Yes.
reference it.
Yes.
It's just like a throwaway. This could have been just a standalone 2-issue limited series, without any mention of. But of course
That's how I feel about the rest of the books.
well,
Without,
it
without the tie-in, would you have bought it?
you
Tie-in's so
wouldn't.
massive.
Yeah, it's so. I do remember Albert and LCD from the early 1990s Wolverine series. Mark Silvestri, I think, created both these characters.
That's a bit of a stretch.
It might be a bit of a well,
I created a robot of a character.
yeah, well, yeah,
Well,
I
it,
totally understand that, but
it kind of strikes me that they had this little robotic girl around the same time that I don't know if you remember that one TV show called Small Wonder.
Yeah. Do the little
yeah.
with the bangs, the girl in the red dress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this book is really, there's it's filling a hole in the schedule, and it's like one of the right. It's one of those books that when you see of all the other books that have been canceled, you're wondering why this one got published. I do like the idea that they brought back Larry Hama, who used to be a big time GI Joe writer, and he wrote Wolverine for a long time too. So yes, so I liked that, but that seemed to be like the only reason to bring this book back. This character is ultimately forgettable. I haven't thought of Albert in the 2.5 decades it's been since he's appeared. I probably won't think of him again after this next issue comes out. I was not drawn into the story. I didn't care when we saw LCD's head connected to the computer. I did not feel horror or anything. I didn't really care about either of the characters. I don't really know how they even put him back together, because as far as I remember, Albert blew up in a blaze of glory in the Wolverine book 25 years ago, which is why he hasn't appeared since then.
Well, what was crazy about it was, so I went back to read what was going on with him, and she built him and put him together with some parts from Radio Shack.
Oh, okay.
So for those who don't know what Radio Shack was, it was a version of Best Buy that no longer exists, that actually had like transistor parts and wires and all that other stuff.
Well, the one the one little tidbit I will give you is I did have the Albert action figure from the X-Men line 25 years ago, when that was a thing. So
oh dear God.
yes, I think it had 4 points of articulation. It was really great.
Okay.
So Johnny, why don't you finish
So
us up?
my thoughts. Okay, so after this issue, there were only 3 issues left from this whole 2020 series. How are we going to cope? Just only 3. I don't know if I've actually read 3 of any of them, to be fair. It's only the second one. So you stole my thunder a little bit, man, because I've got, first thing on my notes is that Larry Hama is a Wolvie vet. So this is probably why this book feels like a Marvel Comics Presents from the 80s. I will say that Patch and Madripoor is my favourite part of Wolverine's past. I love that. If he went through the Siege Perilous and he ended up in Madripoor, love that, definitely. So seeing it was pretty cool. I liked Madripoor when Black Widow was there not so long ago. But really, the story breaks down. It's kind of like Baby Doll from the Batman TV cartoon show meets Hit Girl.
Is that okay?
Yeah, meets Robo Love. Oh, the two are going to interface. Oh, that's nice. Why did Elsie? What's her name? LCD. Why did she get replaced? Because plasma screens took over. That's why. To be fair, and you guys know how I feel about this, I don't give a rat's about this whole 2020 thing. I've got Machine Man 2020, the 4-issue limited series from back in the day, Barry Windsor Smith art, gorgeous to look at, makes perfect sense when you read it. That's 2020. This is just bloody cashing on a date thing. It's a weak ass story, or else why do they need to throw a Wolverine character in there? And because they know it's a weak ass story. It's like this event is so turgid and so not influential on anything that's going on. We've also got Empyre in at the same time. So, in order to make sure that people buy this book, let's throw Wolverine in it. The art I quite like, actually. I like the art. It's quite stylized. Boshi is obviously a legs man because he doesn't like drawing the contours of Tiger's boobs. I mean, look at that dress, for Christ's sake. That dress, it's Lola's from the Coco Cabana. It's cut all the way down to there. And when she leans forward, there's nothing. It's like, what? So come on, Marvel. If you're going to put a girl in the dress, you got to. I'm not that I'm advocating, over sexualization of characters, but you put a girl in a dress that's cut all the way down on midriff. You're gonna don't just wuss out and just color it the skin coloring and be done with it. There's in that environment, let's just be a little bit better on the art, please. From that point of view, colors. I like the colors. It's really dark. Does make the book a little chaotic at times. Kind of like halfway through this book, I kind of lost my way. I was kind of like a little bit, I now don't care what so much. I think it's probably when they started looking around all the various bits for the LCD robot. I was kind of, they're just dragging this out for no reason. I can't collaborate because Larry Hama. I can't collaborate because I quite like the art. But very much like the whole 2020 story, man, it's an invisible woman. It's just on the shelf, just gathering dust. 2020, man, invisible woman. Sorry.
Well, when you have an event just based on because it's the year 2020, we have to do an Iron Man 2020 crossover big story. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I just don't know why they didn't think of it. Like it's like they threw it together at last minute, know. And this should have been like a big plan.
Yeah, I think if we're going to start doing crossover events based on the year, and I also think we should start doing them, for the time.
Oh yeah.
You got to work out the time zone difference, of course, because if you're doing one at like 8:20 at night, which is 2020, for me that's going to be something like I don't know what's that 2 4. That's going to be 1:20 in the morning, so it doesn't work so well for me. Sorry, guys.
Well, I'm going to tell you like why the whole Iron Man 2020 thing doesn't work for me is because when they debuted this character like 40 years ago, he came from like this futuristic society, and now that we're actually here in 2020 and we're like, oh man, it looks just like 40 years ago. Oh man, there's no flying cars or anything yet.
If you give me 2 seconds, in fact, because I'm actually in my my little there it is. Pulled it out first time. There you go. Machine Man. There you go. Machine Man 2020. Look at that art. How gorgeous is that, eh?
It's really, really good.
And there's the thing. I've got all 4 in there. If you get this, it's not massively expensive. Lucas will be able to vouch for me on this, but it's a good little read. Good little read. Well worth it.
Back when we're actually doing good things with the characters.
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys bring up some good points, especially what are they doing with this whole series? Like, so think back, right? Think about what Arnold Stark is doing with this whole thing, right? He was doing this whole war on robots and AI because he had this weird dream that something was coming, right? And that something that was coming was loosely affiliated to what was going on in the House of X, Power of X series, right? Ever since that book, we haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So what does all the rest of this stuff have to do with that big threat that was coming? What he's doing is just, but they haven't touched on any of that stuff since.
They're killing time. They're killing time till they just end that story in the next issue of Iron Man.
Well, to be fair, Lucas makes a great point. He makes a great point. that whole idea of that tech mage lord thing coming, which we saw way back in Powers, we're nowhere near that in the X. This 2020 book, the series, is just out of sync with what's going on in the X world because X have got the Sword of X going on. So there's no, it's like the setup is too far away from the punchline for the joke to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then when they get around to it, no one's gonna care.
Yeah, exactly right. It's kind of like if you want to go old school, it's kind of like reading Days of Future Past the first time, and then never getting there, and then everything in between getting convoluted and thrown in, and then all of a sudden you've got Nimrod, and then you've got something else, and all these different things. I mean, from Days of Future Past, you've got Rachel coming back, you've got Ahab, you've got the mutants, and then of course later on you've got Bishop and his gang coming back. But hold on a second, if they're coming back from the same future, why are so if you're going to have this massive spanning story like House and Powers, which I still think is had a bit of a cop-out ending, to be fair, then at least work towards that. Don't just like give it there and then don't pay any lip service or any work towards that,
Right.
So I think Lucas makes great points, man. Great points.
Yeah, it is a good point. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we will talk about the book of the week, Empyre #1.
When we say week, do we mean week or WEAK? I'm not quite sure. Run the ad.
You'll find out.
Web-spinning Spider-Man.
This is Web-spinning Spider-Man with flyaway action pack. Assembly required. Load the web-spinning fluid and squeeze.
Web-spinning Spider-Man. Small webs, big webs. Spider-Man webs are catchy webs. Webs around fingers, webs around legs. Webs, web-spinning Spider-Man.
Web-spinning Spider-Man with flyaway action pack and web-spinning fluid by Mego.
All right, we're back. All right, we're going to talk about the first issue, the long-awaited first issue, depending on how you look at it. This book was designed to come out back in April, right before everything shut down. We got like the Empyre 0 issue, and then that was it, right?
There's
Until
more kind of like prequel books in there, isn't there? I'm not sure.
Well, there were the last couple of weeks we did get the Fantastic Four issue and the Avengers issue of Empyre, which was actually kind of a prequel to this book, which essentially they drop you in the middle of the action in the first issue. So if you didn't get those previous issues the last couple of weeks, you really don't have any idea what's going on page 1. So let me
help.
it doesn't help. So let me get into who's responsible for this. So we have arguably the two biggest writers in Marvel today, Al Ewing and Dan Slott, on the story. Al Ewing wrote the script, and then we have Valerio Shitty on art. Is it Shitty? I should let you try to say that.
You just want to cuss real bad, don't you?
Well, I just don't want the artist's name to reflect the book, because I actually think that the art's really good. Color artist is Marty Gracia. Letterers VC is Joe Caramagna. We have the main cover is Jim Chung and Frank Martin, with lots of variant covers, which I'm sure Lucas will cover. And we have, again, 4 editors. I don't know why we have 4 editors now. Martin Biro and Alana Smith, assistant and associate editor, with Tom Brevert as the editor. C.B. Sapolsky is, the fearless leader over there. So this book you need a scorecard for, and thankfully on page 1 you have a checklist of who's actually in the book and who they are aligned with. We have the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and then we have the Kree-Skrull Alliance, and then the Kotati. Who's good, who's bad? We don't know.
Can I just ask a quick question about those pages? You know the pages where they put the checklist of who's in it.
Sure.
Do you sometimes look at that when you get to that page and you see who's in it? You look at it and you go, "Really, him?
Yeah.
Oh, really, her? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be."
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I
thought that was just a me thing, but I'm glad other people think that.
Yeah. Well, no. See, the thing that bugs me, and I'll take it one step further, is when you see that so and so is in this book, and then you get to that point, and first of all, the circular artwork is, say, like Captain America, and that's like the only panel he's in the book for.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, okay, he had a cameo. So anyway, that's not true in this book. There's a relatively, you have your Avengers, which is basically the main cast of the Avengers book right now. Fantastic Four, which is the Fantastic Four plus Franklin and Valeria, and we also have the Kree-Skrull Alliance, which they call it Emperor Hulkling, but it's Emperor Doric the Eighth. I think they're kind of trying to drop the Hulkling name, but then we have Super Skrull, Tantalus the Pursuer, Captain Glory. Worst name ever, with Mergen. And then for the Katati, we have Koi and Swordsman. And like I said, you need to really have a checklist on the characters in this book, and really kind of a maybe an understanding of history, which probably, I don't know if Johnny would care about that, but I actually like books that have history and kind of rip from the past to build a new story, if that's exactly what's happening, is this is a new story and not something that we've already read before. But I do like the fact that we do kind of look back. You kind of really have to kind of remember the Celestial Quest series from 2002, where they introduced Koi. This book is very Steve Englehart heavy, as far as stuff that he wrote with the Celestial Madonna saga back in the 1970s, in the pages of Avengers. And there was actually the giant size Avengers 1 through 4 that actually ran concurrently with the actual Avengers book, and that all tied into the Celestial Madonna saga. So the only thing missing out of this so far is Mantis. I imagine she's going to appear at some point. Also, other books that you might want to do a primer if anybody's looking, and maybe at some point Lucas can post something about where to find all these issues. The Kree-Skrull War, you probably want to have some backstory on. The Fantastic Four Annual number 19 that came out in the early 80s by John Byrne, that had a lot of Kree-Skrull stuff that they reference in this crossover, and Young Avengers, where the first appearance of Hulkling and
Kate Bishop,
right
Patriot, and Wiccan. Yeah, it's chock full.
So this story is actually you have the Fantastic Four and the Avengers one side against the other, which what Lucas already mentioned earlier, heroes fighting heroes. They kind of have the Fantastic Four, who is already out in space, running into the Kree-Skrull fleet, who is on their way to Earth to destroy the Kotati, who has been living on the blue area of the moon, and who is currently right now over with the Avengers are over with them. Now, Koi, who is the Celestial Messiah, the son of Mantis and Swordsman, but really the Kotati possessed version of Swordsman. The actual original Swordsman's dead. But they were actually allies of the Avengers back in the Celestial Quest saga. So the Avengers run into them, so they're natural allies, and their goal is to prevent the Kree-Skrull Alliance from destroying the Kotati civilization that is now on the blue area of the moon. So to make a long story short, really, the Kree-Skrull the Kree-Skrull Alliance with the Fantastic Four, they believe that the Kotati need to be destroyed to prevent the Kotati from destroying the galaxy, and the Avengers need to prevent the Krees and the Skrulls from uniting to destroy the Kotati. turns out that you find out towards the end of this book that the Katati really are a warlike race, which is a twist from 50 years of continuity where the Katati were peace-loving and, kind of hippy dippy, and now it turns out that Koi as the Celestial Messiah is really their kind of their warmongering leader, and that they are going to destroy the galaxy. And the Avengers, especially Tony Stark, kind of like, what did we do? We believed the Katati, and now all this is going to happen. So it looks like we're all very quickly going to not be fighting heroes versus heroes. It's going to be Fantastic Four teaming with the Avengers. I want to say that I had much more fun going back and researching all of the little threads that they did in this book, as far as the backstory to get this story, than I did reading the actual story. But the other thing that I want to talk about is this book is one of the big books that has been really affected by the COVID-19 shutdown. If you look at the last page, I think Johnny said there was like 55 different 51 different tie-in titles for this book, which is this was supposed to be the gigantic summer event that was supposed to run across all of the Marvel universe for the entire summer. And as a result of COVID, they have culled pretty much all of the tie-ins. So just to give you an idea of the canceled tie-ins, if you're looking at the end of the book, the Ghost Rider tie-ins have been canceled. The Wakanda tie-ins canceled.
Oh,
the
really? The one where you put Black Panther in space again for no reason whatsoever?
They gave him an astronaut suit this time. That was good.
Once again, the royal person who is supposed to be looking over his people, they threw him out in space.
He didn't. I don't know. The Spider-Man tie-in got canceled. The Squadron Supreme tie-in's canceled. The title called Storm Ranger, which I didn't know what that was, that's canceled. The Thor's canceled. Strike Force is canceled, and the Union, which was supposed to be a 5-issue limited series, that's canceled as well. So it looks like the only books you're getting are the main books: the Empyre book, the Avengers book, the Fantastic Four book, and then if there's, any of the books that are ongoings, like the X-Men tie-in, I'm sure we'll still have that. And then the Savage Avengers, it looks like, wasn't canceled. And then we get some standalone books like Swordsman and Hulkling. Looks like they're getting their one shots as well, but looks like everything else is gone off the schedule.
Thank God.
So this should be now, as a result, is I'm thinking that this might actually be more of a tight event book that actually might turn out to be good, because your attention's not all over the place, and we're not sitting there trying to scramble to read every loose, very, very loose tie-in. So, given the amount of backstory in this, that's a good thing. And you know what? For my recommendation, I would say go back and read this old stuff that this is based on, because
absolutely
it's 100% better.
Absolutely.
So, Lucas, why don't you tell me what you think?
Well, you're absolutely right, bud. Because this is, I don't think it's more important for this story, but it's more important for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, right? Because they're trying to build all this up to eventually that secret war, that whole Kree Skrull invasion, that secret invasion stuff that's going forward, right? So this is a very important book. Also important is the introduction of, well, it's not his introduction, but just putting more storyline in regards to the Hulkling, right? His whole deal, right? Because not only, they haven't really said, hey, the Hulkling's coming up, but we already know Kate Bishop is coming out, right? And Hulkling, his first appearance was in the same book as Kate Bishop, right? So you got Kate Bishop, Hulkling, Patriot, Wicked. You got a whole bunch of characters in that one book. So that's another cheap book for you guys that that don't have it yet, you might want to check that out. Go ahead, pick it up. But as far as what was going on in this book, once again, I don't care what you do and how it ends up doing. Once again, it was good guys just going versus good guys. They didn't take a minute and say, "Hey, can we take a second and just we can talk about what you know and what we know, what we think is going on." I thought, and on the other side, I think there was a missed opportunity here, right? Because the whole big deal is that the Kotai, they're just plant-based society. They're just plant-based species that no matter where they are, if the power is boosted, then they could just grow, right? If it's on your shoe, it's in your mouth, it's whatever, it's going to get boosted. It can just grow, right? I was thinking they should have had some panels that were sort of more like, the what's the name of that movie? The Body Snatchers, the old one, right? If you would have if you would have given me that, I would have been all in. Instead, you just had like, some plants going out of Grim's mouth. Oh, ooh, scary. He's gonna be all right. He's rock based, so he's gonna be all right. Man, I didn't care. And then it was just, I think there was more opportunities missed that made this more annoying than anything else. But once again, I'm going to be in because that's all we got right now into the whole X-Swords and the whole Web of Venom series comes out. So that's what we got right now. As far as the covers, nobody cared about any of the covers. Nobody wanted any of the covers. They had a lot of covers and nobody cared. Once again, it was at $5 for the regular covers. You had a Pat Gleason cover. You had a variant Luciano Vecchio cover. It's okay, but nobody really cared about it. Got a Jen Bartel variant cover. That may be something that was a 1-30, but it was too highly priced. Here's a very nice Jeff DeCall variant. It's kind of loud. Too much going on right now. And there's a Mike Del Mundo cover. Oh, excuse me. That's not a Mike. That's New Mutants. But yeah, there's a Jeff DeCall, and that one was a 1-50. So there's a lot of covers. Some of them are good, some of them are not, but nobody really cared. So don't go breaking your back for that one.
Not at $6 a pop for the standard book. It's bonkers.
So, that's true. Johnny, what did you think?
I read the issue where the Skrull family's on the run. That's linked to this. I thought that was quite good, and it showed you the history of, like, a potted history of the Qatari and the Skrulls, so you didn't have to go back and read all the original stuff. I've got to say, the original stuff is good. I didn't mind the recap issue previously. I don't see how they've managed to screw it up so quickly. Al Ewing did some great stuff on Hulk. It wasn't my cup of tea, and I said that before, so I'm not changing my mind on that. But you guys loved him. You guys can't turn around and say to me that this matches the Hulk stuff that he did. He is clearly slumming it right now, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Al Ewing's trick is he's a lot like bargain basement Jeff Johns,
okay.
where Jeff Johns pulls up really good old DC stuff and makes it fresh and new and fun to read. Al Ewing does the same exact thing with old Avengers stories or old superhero stories, but I think he spends a lot more time on just kind of, hey, I'm going to show you how smart I am, and here's this encyclopedic knowledge I have of the Marvel Universe, but not really taking it to new steps and new heights.
So basically, I mean, I agree. Al Ewing, it could be a bargain basement Jeff Johns, who in turn is a bargain basement Roy Thomas. So
Great point. Yes.
So it's like regurgitation of the history and stuff, because Thomas was doing it first when he repurposed the android Human Torch for the Vision and so on and so forth. Loved Roy Thomas, whether he's on Marvel or whether he's on DC. The reason why I think Al Ewing's lost a step on this, it's down part of me. So the credits, it's written by Al Ewing and Dan Slott, script by Al Ewing. Right. Okay. Reed Richards won't let Val drive the shuttle because she hasn't passed a driving test. He doesn't want to get in trouble with the DMV. All right.
But I mean, Also, Val's 6, so I don't know what they're even talking about.
Well, here's the other thing to think about. He'll listen to the DMV about having a minor, drive, but he's not going to listen to the law where it says recklessness endangerment of children because she's out in space right now. How many other 6-year-old astronauts do you know? It's like, come on, if you're trying to, you want people to buy into these characters as real characters. Don't overcook it. You're trying to pass the funny, but there's this whole thing. The Fantastic Four, they don't care about things like laws. When was the last time Reed Richards thought, hold on a second, I better not open the portal to the negative zone because I haven't got a permit? It's like, come on. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. They had to put that scene in there to make Reed Richards is a parent and he's gonna make those parental decisions, but overlook the whole thing about they're in space.
Yeah.
Franklin's created universes,
Yeah, I mean, and the part that I struggled on was that whole little fight that they got on. So, little Franklin, he's losing his powers every time he uses it and everything. I was like, I don't get it because Franklin is too much of a whiny little whatever right now for me to care about what's going on. Get on with the story. Don't show me this back and forth in between passive aggressive dad and the whiny little Franklin. Just get on with it. And I don't care about the driver's license of the little girl. No, I don't care.
Take out the Qatari of this equation, and basically you've got a Fantastic Four versus Avengers story. And you know what? There's so many other little bits in there that kind of just made me wanna throw this book away. The Ghost Quinjet. Are you freaking kidding me? Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, honestly, the idea behind it is probably sound, the whole Qatari thing and so on. The fact that it's so convoluted appeals to people like Bud and to me. But you got to think to yourself, Joe Bloggs walking off the street because he's seen the Avengers movie is not going to give a rat's ass. And you can put all your fun little pop culture bits in there, as much as you like, but it's not going to make the book an enjoyable read. This book is clobber from page 1 to the last page, and I don't care which character steals which catchphrase because it wasn't funny, but it's still a clobber. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm flaming on the book because it was Nope, I'm flaming it on. I am just gonna say I like the original stories better, but I flame them on too. I want to see what's going on here, and I do believe that this crossover is going to be the first kind of inkling of Al Ewing taking over the Avengers book, right? Because he's going to take over the book, right?
Agreed. He's going to take over. You are the prime Marvel customer. I don't mean that in any sort of way. You're the guy, very much like I am for DC, who when a big event comes along, you have high hopes.
I do.
You are the high hope guy.
We've been doing this podcast for 4 years now, and every event that comes along, every first issue of that summer event, I am totally 100% on board, and I am hoping that for some reason by the time they get it to issue 6 that they don't mess it up, and they always do. So I will the first couple of issues I'm going to be super hyped for. I'm going to think they did some cool stuff, but then they're going to fail and they're not going to stick the landing, so to speak. So prove me wrong, guys, please. I would love to have an ending that we can see going forward is going to be changing the Marvel universe at some point.
And look at that honest face. Look at it, that earnest, honest face, wearing his comic book hat on his sleeve. But Marvel, and to me, DC at times, let us down, and yet we still come back for more. That's our mutant power, dude. We are suckers for punishment.
Ed, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I just, I always have that hope that they'll come around.
Come on, Marvel. You can do it. If you just do it for Bud. Win one for the professor.
Did you guys see? And I'm going to diverge from the comics for a second, but it's been all over social media this week about that little kid that saved his sister
I
from
saw
a
that.
dog attack.
I
And
saw that.
Chris Evans sent the kid the shield, his Captain America shield from the movie.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that warms my heart as a superhero fan. And why, I think Chris Evans can never be replaced as Captain America, because I think he really lives and breathes the gimmick. And to have a little kid like that who is an obvious American hero, I think we would all I think like to think we would do that if it was our little sister, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I just think
for
that
me, if a little dog was messing with my sister probably deserved it. That's how
I've got two sisters, so I can afford to lose one.
was it the one I liked? Yeah. So.
Dad, I don't know how those nibbles and bits got around her neck. I don't know.
Which one said? Johnny, I know you like Batman, so I bought you a Marvel book. Right, that's the one I'm throwing under the bus. Don't play with the Rottweiler.
Nice. All right, so I guess on that end, with high hopes, we will talk to you all again in 2 weeks, and stay safe, and we will talk to you soon.
Adios.